one day something just clicked and I went, wait a second. Sales online is just like sales in person. So why am I doing it so differently? I woke up in a very vulnerable place in Philadelphia one day and everyone had turned their back on me. And not to get too deep, but that was my last suicide attempt. It was a very dark place. Looking back, it was one of the most wonderful things to ever happen to me. Honestly, I was talking to a guy earlier and we were talking about a few of these credit card stacking guys. And in all honesty, a lot of these guys are using credit repair and funding as a front to watch the cocaine money. Well, she just got 10 years in prison because she paid to put a hit out on somebody. That's actually why. But before all this happened, she had actually lost a finger and got a large settlement, and that's where she got the money. If you want over promises, empty promises, flashy things, you can go to somebody else. You usually end up coming back to me though. I've been homeless several times as a grown-up. I've had negative money in my bank account. I've had no bank account. That's where I've been at. I've been unemployed without a bank, like getting the card on, like getting the money on the card. Like I grew up on food stamps. Like we've been in the trenches. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it.
Yeah.
If you behave different in desperate times than when things are shining, that needs to be a conversation you have with yourself. Money makes the world go round, whether we want to acknowledge that or not. Throwing money at a problem doesn't necessarily mean we solve it.
Money is just a resource, just like energy is, and the resources are what makes things go around.
When something happens, that I don't categorize it as good or bad. It's simply the situation, and I'm going to lean into it. If you're not being talked about, you're not doing enough. If you're going to open your mouth and call out scammers and fraudulent people, they're going to come for you hard.
Rocking the boat requires a life raft.
Credit repair is so hard to sell because you are selling a commitment to uncommitted people. If you show a loss on your tax return for 3 years in a row, business or personal, you're absolutely getting audited. Here's the deal is when I became a business owner, I didn't go to business school. I never went to college. So anything I found out or gained was because I fucked it up and did it wrong in the first place. Like the fact that so many of these people are promoting money laundering techniques and without any regard. And we saw that impact with the Chase glitch. That's not a glitch, y'all. People were literally calling check fraud a glitch. Anytime somebody talks about the IRS and they send me a link to a blog, just go to the IRS website. If the IRS website does not say this, I am not going to believe you.
Welcome to Credit Chats, where we deep dive into the financial maze and uncover how everything from your daily coffee to your dream home impacts your credit score. I'm LeBaron, and thank you for joining us. Each episode will explore the ins and outs of personal finance, hear from experts, and answer your questions. So tune in, take notes, and transform your financial journey with us. Let's get started. Hey guys, this is our Just the Tip segment. Avoid credit churning. Opening and closing cards frequently can actually hurt your score by shortening your credit history and lowering your average account age. Think long term when choosing and sticking with credit lines. Hey, welcome everybody to another Credit Chats. We are here with Ashley Gunther, who is the lone wolf, and that is L-O-A-N, not L-O-N-E, because she has plenty of people that she has helped. Welcome, Ashley.
Man, how you doing? I feel great about this. I'm excited.
Ashley began her financial career in February 2018 as a co-owner of her first marketplace. Before transitioning to finance, she excelled in e-commerce and marketing, creating 7 courses over 4 years and empowering over 3,000 students worldwide. Alongside her team, Ashley has helped over 23,000 clients secure more than $1.6 billion in approvals for startup business and individuals. During COVID-19, she played a critical role in helping 7,000 small businesses access funding through EIDL programs and PPP loans. In 2022, Ashley published 2 solo books on Amazon, building her success as a best-selling contributing author. She also had the honor of speaking at the Les Brown Summit and other notable entrepreneurial events in Florida and Las Vegas. Florida over here. So in 2023, Ashley launched a micro lender course and a loan brokerage course, equipping entrepreneurs with the tools to build 6-figure businesses. On a personal note, Ashley's journey began in Maine, where she faced poverty, abuse, and skepticism about her potential. In 2005, she left Maine for Nashville, determined to create a better future. Despite facing homelessness and relying on unemployment benefits, she discovered entrepreneurship, igniting her passion for transformation and resilience. Today, Ashley is a vocal advocate for mental health awareness and a testament to the power of perseverance. Welcome again, Ashley.
Man, that makes me sound so damn good. I love it.
That's because you are good.
I know, right? I love it.
Yeah, and we connected on a Zoom call that we were on for
the 7 misconceptions of funding. Actually, that's what it was. It was
yes,
the 7 misconceptions.
Yeah. And yeah, we connected, and from there we built our relationship, and we've been talking back and forth ever since because we both share a passion of helping people, and that's honestly what it's all about, like helping other people and realizing that the stuff we go through isn't just for us. It's to help other people. So thank you for helping people, and like these numbers, man, the accolades, they're great. I love it.
Thank you, man.
So let's get into your origin story. Like, what inspired you to transition from e-commerce and marketing into the finance industry, and then leading the creation of the Lone Wolf?
For sure. First and foremost, the concept of making money online, I didn't realize that or understand it until 2016, right? 2016, gotcha. I was working for Nissan North America assembling cars. I was working 6 days a week, and I got really sick and was unable to work.
Yeah.
And a friend came to me and was like, you can make money online. And I remember thinking, this is the biggest load of crap I've ever heard. But because this person was a friend and I trusted them, I was like, if Mark is telling me this, though, there must be something there, right? And so because of my health, I started my online journey. Mm-hmm. Now, fast forward a few years later, I started an MLM. I did the direct sales. I bought into every mentorship. I was following Les Brown and Grant Cardone and all of those. Yeah. I attended the first 10X Growth Con before everybody knew who Grant was. I hung out with him on a yacht, hanging out, talking, doing all that. And I was doing all the wrong things in that. And so it took me about a year and a half. One day something just clicked and I went, wait a second. Sales online is just like sales in person. So why am I doing it so differently? And so from there, I started realize like it just all clicked. Mm-hmm. And so I started a marketing agency and I started teaching others. And so my first few years as an independent, self-employed entrepreneur, I was offering marketing and sales really is what I was doing. I was doing courses. Launched my first course ever and had 1,200 students within 3 months. It blew up. It was just crazy. But the thing about that is it's 2017. I don't have any automation. I don't have a funnel. I am working with 1,200 students worldwide. So I'm working 24 hours a day and I burned out. out. And while I was burning out, though, a few things happened. Number one, I had a core group of students that I was trying to help elevate and take to the next level. Mm-hmm. And one morning I woke up after taking a week off for my own health, for my own mental health, for my own physical health. Right. So physically, this was, like I said, 7-8 years ago, I was sick. I had gained 80 pounds. Mm-hmm. This was still at Nissan, my transition from Nissan, that sickness, right? And so I had to make all these changes. And one of them was my health. I had to focus on not only my mental, but my physical health. I took a week off and I come back and those students, there was one leader that got all the students, decided to leave the company that I created where we were all getting paid and pretty much hijack everything, including the logo, and start their own thing. Wow. So I woke up in a very vulnerable place in Philadelphia one day and everyone had turned their back on me. Mm. And not to get too deep, but that was my last suicide attempt. Mm. It was a very dark place. I was still in a very dark place. Right. And that, looking back, it was one of the most wonderful things to ever happen to me. But in that time, it was really dark and it was really deep. And I was like I said, I was in a whole other state. I had gone to Pennsylvania for a week to work on my health. I had bartered with a health and wellness coach. Hey, I'll help you market and sell your health and wellness. I'm going to be one of your students. And hindsight is 2020. I'm thinking this is the worst thing to ever happen to me. And so I was at this crossroads. This crossroads of what to do next. And I was hurt. I was very hurt. I was very vulnerable. And A student of mine came to me and said, and none of these students knew that I attempted that night. That was something I talked about maybe 2 years later. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't well known. And so at this time, one of my students came to me and said, Hey, Ashley, you saved my life. I was suicidal. I was going to take my life.
Right.
And you're probably going to have to do a trigger warning on this podcast just in case.
Okay.
But he said, Ashley, you saved my life. And because of you, I'm here today. And he goes, I have a loan company and I need you to help me grow it. And I know you're the one to help me grow it. And that's
Mm-hmm.
how I got into lending. It
Okay.
was people turning their back on me going through a suicide attempt, and then me finding out one of my students had been through the same thing months prior. So he
Mm-hmm.
handed me half the company and said, Ashley, whatever you need, go for it. And the thing about it was, is I spent 10 months building something with no education, having no background in finance.
Mm-hmm.
There was little to no information out there that you could just find, whether it was free or paid, it just wasn't out there. And so for 10 months, I was in the trenches doing everything I could, and I gave it everything.
Mm-hmm.
And one day in early November that year, I go to log into everything, and everything's gone. Everything's gone. And I hit up my partner. I said, Hey, what's going on? He goes, Ashley, I can't do it anymore. And I said, do what? What are you talking about? Because you're not doing anything.
Wow.
He said, I can't do it anymore. Shut the whole thing down. And so I was left again, starting at zero. And so I got into my hustle mode. I went to Starbucks for 3 days and wrote a book called 12 Weeks to Freedom. And it was really another marketing course for sales. And I was selling it for 50, 75, and like $100 because I needed to make some fast money.
Yeah.
And one of the people that bought it, his name was Zach, and he was a part of another funding company that was looking for reps. And he kept saying, Ashley, everything you want, everything you need is over here. And I was just thinking about this because Black Friday just came about. So you have to imagine my business partner, gone. Poof, everything's gone. So I lost everything. I lost everything I had been working on. And we were building a company, so it wasn't like we were cash flow positive.
Mm-hmm.
I was left with like almost nothing. So me and my partner at the time, we had no money in the bank. She had one credit card in her name with $990 left on it.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy convinces me, like, you've got to do this thing. But in order for me to join this company, I had to buy a training course. And that training course was $1,000. And we didn't have $1,000. I had $990.
Mm-hmm.
Black Friday comes along and the guy selling the courses does 50% off everything. But he didn't have this one course. So I slid into his inbox and I said, Hey man, I noticed all your courses are on sale, but this one. He's like, not a problem. I'll give it to you for half off, 50%. So we're talking about $500. I went to my partner and I said, listen, I know we have no money coming in. I'm doing my best. This is half the money we have available. Will you take this risk with me? Will you take this chance? And she said, yeah, let's go for it. She never doubted where I was going to go. Mm-hmm. So I got into that. It was my first course. I finally started learning even some of the basics. Because I'm going to be honest, during that 10 months, I didn't necessarily know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so I took this course and that dramatically changed my trajectory and everything. Because for the next 2 years, I was mentored. And every week, my mentor brought in a lender. And we did a very intense 1 to 2 hour training where I got to talk to like the CEO owner of that lending company. I got to talk to an underwriter. I got to talk to a sales rep. I got to ask them any questions under the sun. And I showed up to every one of those calls. And fast forward now, one of the reasons why I was able to do so much through so many different programs, because there's so many different funding products out there, was because of that mentorship that I fell into. And so a few years ago, when so many people were coming to me saying, Hey, Ashley, we wish we could learn, that's when I decided to make my own courses specifically for lending, because there's such a huge gap between real education and fluff.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of my origin story of getting at least into lending and getting into the entrepreneurship as well. I had done a few things entrepreneurial wise, like I had started a photography company. I had flipped CDs on eBay. So I had dabbled in it, but never really focused on, hey, this can be my life. And when I was doing the e-commerce, I was flipping Amazon returns and making a decent amount of money every month. And that allowed me to eventually find the marketing, the sales, and the finance.
All right. That's definitely a great story. And number one, I'm glad you're here. That's first of all.
Yeah,
glad you're here. And there's some nuggets that you drop there, like the resilience and not giving up and betting on yourself, all of the things that you hear just in story form. And I'm definitely like paying attention to some of that stuff. And then just like the lending parts of it too. And we talked about a little bit of this just because of my story. Like I'm getting into the lending parts of it now with the fix and flips. And there's so many vehicles out there for people that need lending.
Yep.
And there are nuances that will fit your particular situation. You just have to go find them. And then also learning about like your whatever the passion is that you're going for at the time, learning about that. And I also just started a merch store as well for my business. Yeah, and I'm looking at what the best methods are for that. And just like you said, there's information out here that's fluff, and then there's the real information.
There's a lot of fluff. Yeah.
You got to do your due diligence to find out which is which. Unfortunately, because there's so many people out here that are gonna lead you down the wrong path.
And they're very convincing. Listen, they flash the things and they're showing people with approvals and stuff, and they're making a lot of promises. But a lot of them have never processed a single application. They're just regurgitating information they saw. They're really good at mirroring. They're flashy. They've made enough. Honestly, I was talking to a guy earlier, and we were talking about a few of these credit card stacking guys. And in all honesty, it's going to be the first time I say this like out loud on anything recorded. A lot of these guys are using credit repair and funding as a front to watch their cocaine money.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. For real, to wash their drug money. There's a lot of hustlers hustle. And I've never been mad at a hustler for hustling. Yeah. The thing about it is there's a certain demographic and a certain type of people and a certain thing going around where they're realizing that their super risky illegal business needs a front.
Yeah.
And credit repair and funding is one of those. Now, credit repair has a lot more rules and regulations where funding doesn't, but that's actually what they're doing.
Yeah.
Which people are like, for real? And I'm like, yeah, like that. It cleans their money. I'm making money with credit repair. And it reminds me too, there was a famous woman also named Ashley. And I was real close to partnering with her. And I can't remember, her last name starts with an M, but it's a famous story. Okay. And she came up through Credit Repair Cloud for them, even though I'm not affiliated, had nothing to do with them. But she came up and she claimed that she had made $1 million offering credit repair. Mm-hmm. And she was very flashy. And things started to slowly come out. She just got 10 years in prison. And the reason why she got 10 years in prison, though, is because she paid to put a hit out on somebody. That's actually why. But before all this happened, she had actually lost a finger and got a large settlement. And that's where she got the money. And she took that money and she made it look like in a few different ways that she made it for credit repair. Now, she also holds the record for the fastest selling course on Teachable. She broke that record twice. You can look this up. She was just given this prison sentence. So it's wild out there.
Yeah.
Some of these people, the egos that happen when you start making a lot of money. And a lot of these funding and credit repair people are using attraction marketing, which is, hey, look I got the Rolex. Hey, look, I got the Lambo. Hey, look, I got this large mansion. And they're bringing people in with those promises. Number one, that's a huge FTC, SEC issue. Like what you say matters, right? I'm seeing, especially this year, a lot more of that attraction marketing coming back and it being in the credit repair and it being in the funding space. And it's everywhere. I had somebody a few weeks ago buy my course and they're like, you're not really well known, so how do people find you? And I'm like, first of all, I am well known in the right spaces. But they're like, but you're not like flashing on Instagram and TikTok. And I'm like, yeah, you're not going to. I don't do attraction marketing. Yeah. I don't do that. I'm here to get you funding, right? You want to go to an expert that's going to have real avenues and channels and has done it thousands of times. I'm your person. If you want over promises, empty promises, flashy things, you can go to somebody else. You usually end up coming back to me though.
Yep. Yeah. And that's one of the things we talked about on Raquel's show on her Zoom when we connected. And there could be people out here that are pretty sincere about telling you this stuff, but they've never done it.
Yeah.
And they could be sincere in telling you this stuff and then only give you half the story, or not telling you that it's only their story of how they got through this. But just because something works for somebody else doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And I'm not saying to be pessimistic or anything
but it's true. Nobody's going to be able to replicate what I do, because what I do is what I do, right? Now I can give people the exact blueprint. this is everything
Mm-hmm.
I've done, it's still going to come out different. And that's the
Yeah.
thing, is like we all appeal to different people. At the end of
Right.
the day, we are all judged for certain things. So if I'm
Mm-hmm.
not flashy enough to a person that needs flash to make that decision, they're going
Yeah.
to overlook me. And that's okay. That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing, is we need to remember that the way we present ourselves and the content we put out is a direct reflection of us, whether we're
Mm-hmm.
doing it on purpose or not. And it should reflect our core values,
Right.
what we're looking. So what we put out should be who we are at our core. And some people are putting out different things to attract more of those, right?
Yeah.
We'll fake it till you make it concept.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I understand the fake it till you make it concept, and I understand showing what's possible, but there's still a responsibility.
Yeah.
And there's also literal rules that we have
Mm-hmm.
to follow in order to responsibly promote this. I've been homeless several times as a grown up. I've had
Yeah.
negative money in my bank account. I've had
Mm-hmm.
no bank account. That's where I've been at. I've
Yeah.
been unemployed without a bank, like getting the card on, like getting the money on the card. Like I grew up on food stamps. Like we've been in the trenches. And just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it.
Yeah.
And I've had no money, and not at one time was I like, I'm going to say whatever I can to make this sale.
Yeah.
Some
And I
of
think,
people like that. And I get that when we come from a place of desperation and fear, and we haven't eaten in a few days,
yeah.
and we sleep in who knows where. Like I've been there.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, how we do things is how we do things,
Yeah.
whether we're in desperation or we're in a really good point in our life. If you behave different in desperate times than when things are shining, that needs to be a conversation you have with yourself. Now, I'm not judging you for it, because, hey,
Yeah.
everybody's got to do what they decide they got to do.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that it flows so much better, and you feel a lot better about yourself when you operate with
Mm-hmm.
transparency.
And I think the fake it till you make it is misallocated, because the fake it till you make it, and to me, of course, to me, this means the mindset that you have. If you don't believe it, fake it till you make it, like
Yeah.
with your mindset, not with your outcomes, not with telling people
Right.
that you've done something. Don't lie.
Yeah.
But the faking it till you make it means, okay, I may not believe this, but I know it works because I've been through it, and I'm just down right now. So I need to tell you something that you need to hear. So I'm going to fake my joy, my excitement, my thing, whatever I need to do to get this message across to you, because you need to hear it,
Yeah.
not because I'm saying, oh, I got this mansion that I rented, and this is how I got my billions. And again, I said, that's for me.
And here's another concept though too, is like so many people are like attraction marketing. It's like, why don't you talk about how you're going to change their life, but not just with look at how many? Because here's the deal: is I don't want a mansion. I don't want
Right.
a Lambo. They sit too low
Right.
to the ground. Give me
Yep.
like, let me soup it up an El Camino from
Yeah.
'84 type deal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody's different, and I respect that. And I think a lot of people, there's a lot of influencers, obviously, that are like, look at my Rolex, look at my Lambo, and it's not
Yeah.
everybody does want a Rolex. You need to understand that everyone's goal is different. So some
Mm-hmm.
people's goal is to live quietly off on a farm.
Yep.
You know, some people want to live in a high rise. It's all very different. So it's, if you're selling the ego and the attraction, yes, that can work. But if you start talking about people's pain points
Yeah.
and what they're going through and what's keeping them up at night,
Right.
that's a far more effective and scalable and long-term practice. Because flashing that stuff, it's only going to last for so long until you get it knocked with the IRS, and they're wondering why you have all this money that's not, because here's the deal:
Yep.
the IRS is watching.
They are.
The government's watching.
They just spent another some $1 billion to get more agents to be watching too.
They're going to keep dispensing all of them. And the thing about it is, Trump and Elon Musk and those people are going to turn a lot of things upside down. And Trump is very much focused on changing up the Federal Reserve. And that's a very
it's a big deal.
Drop in the pond type deal when you start to see the effects. And a lot of them are going to be very positive, positive for borrowers, very good for even lower credit people, because the banks will open up in a lot of ways. Like the dollar has already improved and strengthened some. And obviously, not to get political, but for business owners to understand, like Trump just went to a bunch of countries and said, hey, if you're trying to eliminate the dollar or not pay us in dollars, 100% tariff. I'm 100% taxing you. We're going to go hardcore. And the thing about it is a lot of people are scared of that, thinking it's going to be negative. And yes, obviously there's always some negatives
Yeah.
when you start
Yeah.
drastically
It's
changing.
a ripple effect, of course.
But what Trump is doing and how it's going to help small businesses is making the dollar more and more powerful, which needs to happen. And when the dollar is stronger, banks are lending more, banks are more confident, banks are loosening up their underwriting,
Yeah.
new programs will come out, the lenders itself will have more money to disperse. We're going to see once Trump comes in, yes, they're there. And I know a lot of people are nervous, and I'm not telling people to support this or support that, but small businesses are going to benefit greatly from these things. And it's not just in lending, like your dollar is stronger. So you're going to have a lot more power that way. And so I'm interested to see how that's going to develop and how it's going to continue to benefit, like he mentioned, capping credit card percentage, APR percentage for a period of time to 10%. Huge. That's cutting it in half or in thirds for many Americans. Many Americans are paying 22 to 28% on their credit cards, and they're not able to get out of debt that way. And so that's another thing that Trump said he's going to bring. So really in 2025, we are going to see more banks opening up more, allowing for more money to go out into the community. Hey, we're willing to approve you now. And it's going to be good for all of us, because a lot of us are still trying to recover from COVID.
Yeah, and it's going to stimulate the economy to keep the dollars circulating in the small business realms and in the communities.
Which is what we need. That's really
exactly, because I know they were saying like this was something like the historic Black Friday where nobody spent money or something like that. And I know people's mindset right now is everything's going up except salaries, and everybody's looking very cautiously at what they have. And this is, like you said, it's gonna stimulate the economy, and it's gonna move things forward. So I'm anxious, not anxious, but I'm hopeful to see that this is going to move things forward. And the more money that's available to people that are helping other people, the better it is for us on a large scale, because it's just going to give us the tools to be ethical investors. And what I mean by ethical investors is like when we buy these homes, when we buy these multifamilies or the properties that we're going to be lending out, we're going to make sure that they're kept up with the
no slumlords. We're not going to. Look at what BlackRock has completely bought up everything. Like there's a monopoly. If people aren't, and this is a little bit higher level, I don't know where your listeners are, but if you look at what BlackRock has done over the last few years, they've just bought everything up. And
they can move the needle, single-handedly move the needle. So that's
a whole.
We could go all day with that, though. But the Lone Wolf emphasizes empowering startups and small businesses. What drives your passion for supporting these entrepreneurs? We heard a little bit about that just now, and how does your personal journey influence this mission?
Sure. So I look at ego a little differently. So I'm Buddhist. I make jokes like I had suffered my whole life, and then I found Buddhism, and I'm like, hey, it's my home. We're so good at this. But there's a bit of an ego thing. I was a kid that grew up poor. I was a kid that was told at a very early age I was literally going to be worthless. I remember my parents like, you're not going to make a lot of money. You're not really going to be anybody. So we're going to teach you how to survive. And I remember hearing that being like, that's the biggest load of BS. Like, I don't want that. And I saw my parents struggle. And so when I moved to Nashville, I guess I had that big American dream that I was like going to come out here and impact. I wanted to be somebody, especially because I heard my whole life I wasn't. And it is a decent amount of ego, but in a healthy way, because there's nothing more powerful than dramatically changing someone's position. So if I have someone come to me and they're like, Ashley, I've always wanted to start this business, right? So I am literally making dreams come true. There are people out there that either I've always wanted to do this and never realized I had the means to, or that I could actually achieve it. When they come to me and I go, okay, it's XYZ, here you go. Now, obviously it's not that easy, but there are people that have come to me where I'm like, this is the money to start your dreams. And now they're living their dream life every day. During COVID, we helped 7,000 businesses stay in business.
Man.
That's not just a business. That's a family. That's all the employees that are working there. So when you realize it has nothing to do with funding, What I do has nothing to do with funding. What I'm doing is I'm taking a problem that a small business or a startup has, eliminating that, giving them the access to do whatever it is they need to do.
Hmm.
So, like, I've been on the phone with, man, I remember there was this one particular client, I'm always going to remember this, and she had something so traumatically personal, terrible happen to her
Hmm.
while we were working on it. And I remember just crying on the phone with this woman. Had nothing to do with funding. She got
Yeah.
the worst news ever, and she got it while she was on the phone with me. This message, and she read that, and we cried. We just cried about it. It
Right.
was so natural and organic, but that was 4 years ago. I
Hmm.
still remember that call. I still remember that woman. And so for somebody like me, yes, I'm getting people funding. People are always like, oh, you must be good at math. I'm like, that's not what you need to be good at funding. But when I look at the numbers, I'm so proud of these numbers because I know I'm not just helping one person. So it's that
Yeah.
business owner, but it's their family, it's
Yeah.
every employee in their family, it's the community. So when you realize that you're having serious impact, because if I got that person, so let's look at it on the flip side. Let's pretend that I'm like a colleague or some colleagues of mine that don't do what's best for the client always. Because I've
Hmm.
told plenty of clients no.
Yeah.
I have those hard conversations with clients all the time, giving
Yeah.
them, I don't go, hey, yeah, that's easy. We'll get it done. And then bullshit
Yeah.
them for 2 weeks. I'll let
Right.
them know, hey, this is what I'm seeing and this is what it looks like. So let's go on the flip side. Let's say I get them a really high costing advance. I know they're going to default and I don't give a shit because I want my money. So I put them in
Right.
that default, right? And that business owner defaults. The decision I just made, that human being, even if there's an LLC, they have that default. That default now goes on their permanent record. I always thought the
Hmm.
permanent record thing was such BS, right? As grown-ups, we have permanent records, right? But we do when it comes to business and
Yeah.
other things. So let's say that person defaults. That default goes on that business's record.
Right.
Now, a lot of people are saying, hey, these aren't PGs. They're absolutely personal guarantees. So what they're going to do, the lender is going to freeze whatever. So if you're using Venmo or Cash App or Stripe or PayPal or QuickBooks or anything like that,
Yeah.
they're
All
going to
frozen.
put a UCC filing on that, meaning any money that comes through there is now theirs because you owe them. They're going to take you to court. You're going to be charged 4 or 5 other line items that are thousands of dollars because you defaulted
Yeah.
and you messed up your contract with them. And now here's the thing is if you were to dissolve that LLC and open up another LLC, guess what follows you to
That
the next
all of it.
LLC? That default.
All of
They
it.
could take your home. This could mess up your bank account. Your bank account could
Hmm.
get shut down. Then you could get blacklisted from that bank account.
Yeah.
So many things will happen. And now I have harmed that family. So it's not just the business owner,
And
husband,
their
wife,
future.
kids, whatever that is, the damn dog.
Yeah.
I just harmed them because I was irresponsible in the choices that I helped that client make, and I know better.
Yeah.
So there's a flip side to that beauty and that glam. There's a responsibility. And a lot of my colleagues in this industry, especially the ones that do merchant cash advances or revenue based, they don't necessarily operate that way.
Hmm.
They're not thinking, hey, is this client going to default in a month or two?
Yeah.
Because we do pre underwriting. That's the other thing that my company does that a lot of other companies don't do, or agencies or brokerages or consulting companies, is they're not looking at the bank statements in depth. They let
Hmm.
the underwriters do that. I don't need to do that. We do that. I look
Hmm.
at the tax returns. I'm looking at the cash flow. I'm doing my own underwriting and going, can this client afford it? So when I
Yeah.
get that offer back, I can look and be like, yes or no. And if
Hmm.
it's a no, I'm going to let the client know, hey, we got some offers back. This is what I'm calculating and I'm seeing. I think we need to,
Yeah. It's not the best
reconsider this a
option right
little bit.
now.
Yeah. And so that's the thing is that money makes the world go round, whether we want to acknowledge that or not. And throwing money at a problem doesn't necessarily mean we solve it.
Yeah.
Having access to a bunch of money does not mean that we're going to do the right thing by it.
Right.
Talking to a guy earlier today, we were talking about the deployment of money. He's a military vet, so he likes to use military terms. So he's like, the deployment of cash. I'm like, I love that. And that's the other thing too, is like a lot of people, just because you have access to the capital doesn't mean how to properly allocate it.
Yeah.
That's the other
Yeah.
part too. There's a responsibility there.
And money is just a resource, just like energy is, and the resources are what makes things go around. And you can, like you said, you were bartering with
The
the person
wellness.
that
Yeah.
you, yeah, with the wellness coach. And if you look at the creative finance when it comes around that, it doesn't just necessarily mean money. It's
Mhm.
okay. I have something that you need. You have something that I need.
Yep.
How can we make this work? And that's essentially what it goes back to. And like you said before, the something you said before that I want to get back to, the rudimentary thing that all of us in business are doing is solving problems. I don't care what you throw out there. It doesn't matter what the business is. It's solving problems.
Mhm.
And if you're good at solving problems, and like you said before, as far as like the sales is concerned, that's like a dirty word to a lot of people with salespeople because it gets a bad connotation.
Sure.
And all that you're doing when you're doing sales is convincing somebody to accept your help.
Yeah.
And you're like, I got the solution that you need. I just have to convince you that you need it.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it is. And if you look at it that way, you can feel better about yourself for selling things to people
Right.
because the definition changes for you.
Yeah. It's interesting how, so like the word broker in my industry is considered a gross word. Oh, you're
Yep.
just a broker. And I'm like,
Yeah. You're a
just a
middleman.
broker. I'm so much more. Like, gosh, that's
Bridle your tongue.
right. But the thing is, like, we, at the end of the day, anything's negative if we look at it. If we
Yeah.
look at it negative, it's negative. If we look at it positive, it's
Yep.
positive. So it's like if something bad happens to us, we're only deeming it bad. If we,
Yeah.
so like when my business partner shut everything down,
Yep.
I labeled that bad until about 2 years
Perspective.
later. And I'm looking back on it and I'm like, that was fantastic. So it's like we as humans put emotions on things,
Yeah.
categorize them.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we have the choice to categorize them left or right or
Right.
bad.
The
And
story you tell.
and
Yep.
once, and so I've been practicing because it's
Me
something you
too.
got to practice.
Yeah.
When something happens, that I don't
Me
categorize it
too.
as good
Yeah.
or bad. It's simply the situation, and I'm going to lean into it because, as another example, I was looking to partner with this one particular person. And so every
Mm-hmm.
year on the first, I write out, I
Mm-hmm.
call it my hit list, and I write out all the people that I want to work with, whether they're smaller time people list, my big time, and I got my whales. And I'll make
Mm-hmm.
these lists, and that's who I'm focused on. I'm building relationships, I'm showing value. These are the people that I want to work with. And there was this one particular person, I, for whatever reason, I liked what I saw online and I really wanted to partner with them. And so I worked hard at trying to partner with them. And I was getting close and I was getting close. It was a whale. So it's
Mm-hmm.
going to take time. It's going to take months. And finally got the partnership. The person started promoting. And within a month, I realized this person was the biggest fraud of all. I'm talking about frauding people out of hundreds of thousands of dollars, lying, starting LLCs and taking that information and opening up accounts with Verizon and stealing the phones and all this. It just ended up being crazy. So for about a month and a half, I was connected to this person.
Mm-hmm.
And I had done a post where I was calling out like the three most popular hacks at the time and how they were all illegal.
Mm-hmm.
I knew she was doing one of them. I didn't realize she was doing all three. I didn't know about the Verizon from her particularly. I had
Yeah.
been seeing it from others. So I did this post and she just felt like I was talking about her. So she called herself out on the post.
Mm-hmm.
This turned into a war where she ended up making it a race war. She went on
Oh wow.
in her group and was like, Ashley targets the melanin community. She's
Yeah.
ripping the melanin community off. And the thing was, is I challenged her to go on live with me. I said, let's go live. Let's call up, because we were arguing over the Verizon move. I said, let's just call up a Verizon rep on live. Let's get the answers taken care of. And she would never agree to it. She ended up having my page taken down. She had all of her minions coming and attacking. I was getting the dirtiest,
Yeah.
meanest messages. And like the whole time, I'm very much in the melanin community. I've helped
Mm-hmm.
thousands of melanin business owners secure
Yeah.
funding and other minority communities. I had spent 10 years dating people of the melanin community. So when it came out that I was racist and targeting all these, when in fact
Yeah.
this woman had stolen hundreds of thousands of dollars from
So
her
who's
own
really
community.
targeting?
But that affected my business for a good
Yeah.
6 or 8 months. I took on someone who was had a little bit more followers than me on the Facebook, and I paid for it. I paid for it for about a year, and I would still have people coming to me being like, "Oh, I heard you're the racist one that's doing this and this," and I'm like, "I'm really not though." Like I'm really not the one.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. It's so easy to call somebody a scammer or to call somebody
Yeah.
racist or to say anything on Facebook or
Right.
social media. And it can really hurt. And if she would have called anyone that was lower than me out, they would have been eliminated forever. They would have lost
Hmm.
everything. But fortunately, because my reputation was that solid, because of
Hmm.
years and years, like I said, it still affected me. I
Yeah.
lost a lot of money that year because of it. But it's a part of things, right? And they say if you're not being talked about, you're not doing enough.
Yeah.
And I was very vocal in a lot of these fraudulent hacks. And honestly, from that, and I've been having this internal conversation with myself, I took a big step back from
Hmm.
videos and social media and a lot of things when that happened. It really shook me because it
Hmm.
really, I was really close to getting canceled. And it scared me. It scared me so bad because lending is my thing.
Yeah.
That's my legacy. I don't plan on exiting lending in a year. I've been doing it now
Hmm.
almost 7 years. I plan on doing it another 17. And so I honestly, and I've never talked about it in this way, I was terrified. And I was terrified
Hmm.
for a long time. And today I'm not terrified. It took me a minute, but it did scare me because my reputation was very close to just being completely tarnished. And it was all because I called out somebody for ripping people off and had the
Yeah.
proof. I had proof. And she had nothing except for she just told people, hey, come after this person.
Hmm.
Um, and I say all this to give people a lesson. If you're going to open your mouth and call out scammers and fraudulent people, they're going to come for you hard. And if
Yeah.
they have a following, that following is going to come from you for you hard because they take care of their people. And that's the thing is we have to understand that when we do decide to take on that responsibility and we go out there and we
Yeah.
decide to run our mouth, it's going to come back harder because scammers really don't like it when you call them scammers.
Of course.
I
Yeah.
don't
Rocking the
suggest
boat.
anybody coming up or trying to be popular or trying to create that reputation,
Hmm.
probably not call out scammers because those big followers will get you.
Yep. Yeah. Rocking the boat requires a life raft.
Yeah, it does. Yep, it really
Yep.
does.
So yeah, you've developed a loan broker course aimed at creating six-figure part-time earners.
Mhm.
What impact has this had on its participants? Can you give us some of those stories?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. What I love so much is anytime I've ever created a course, number one, I have a few focuses. Number one, I'm going to give you all the secret sauce. There's no secret sauce left in the fridge, hidden in the back type deal. They
Hmm.
get it all, right? And I'm giving them A all the way to Z. And I
Right.
noticed a long time ago, most courses are A, B, C, and D.
Yeah.
And that's about it, right? And they want you to upgrade to pay for the extras and the extras and the extras. And so I never wanted to do that. I also never wanted it to be out of people's price range. I get a lot of crap for that I'm not selling mine for as much as I should. But what I love is in every single course I've ever created, and the lending is no different, I'm going to teach you how to get the job done with as little time as possible, with as
Hmm.
little resources as possible. So you could be brand new. You could be just starting out in your credit repair business, right? And some people were like a me. They had their I have been so emotionally moved by so many people that have taken their last few dollars and
Hmm.
invested it in something that I built. Even recently, there was somebody from the call with Raquel that I met.
Hmm.
They purchased my masterclass. And the person sent me a message and she said, Ashley, I'm going out on a limb because this is all the extra money I have.
Yeah.
That there, it rattles my soul. That
Hmm.
means everything because I remember being that person with nothing, investing in that thing and hoping and wishing it was the thing. And here's the deal I didn't do it just that one time with that one
Hmm.
lending course. I had invested in so many where I was lied to and I
Hmm.
was bullshitted and I was tricked. And this is the next big thing. And this is the next big thing.
Yeah.
And so, again, it's that responsibility. So I have had so many students spend their last few dollars on what I have in hopes that'll get them there, right? So that's already mind blowing, right? And then to see them close their first deal within a few weeks and make that first $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, and they've never made that much money before on one sale, that makes me look amazing, first of all, but
Yeah.
that changes people's lives. Like, I don't, even for people that are making good, if you can make $5,000 on one sale, and I know this is starting to sound like a sales pitch, but it's not. If you could legit, the
Yeah.
average American, the person that's working 40 hours a week, like none of that, it takes them months to make 5,000 or a month or two to make $5,000, right? So when you're giving that person the opportunity, or a lot of my students are from the credit repair space, so they're used to having to do a whole lot of convincing to get that client.
Yeah.
Then they're used to maybe making anywhere between 75 and maybe $200 a month, but they have to stay on that client and they have to run after that client to collect the money. And it's a lot. And they put in so much effort. I'm always talking about how I don't care. The consumer does not understand. Even if you have all your checks and balances and everything's automated,
Yeah.
credit repair is a lot. It's layers,
Yeah.
it's constant work. Okay. So you
And a
come
lot of
from the
people
credit
exit.
repair space where you're working so hard
Yeah.
for a client and you're making a little bit of money. And then you can spend that same time with that client, ask a few extra questions, have them fill out a few extra things. And now let's say you spend an extra hour with that client, but you just made $2,000 or $3,000, you're going to be like, holy crap. And then when you can duplicate that, even if you were to duplicate that with 2 or 3 clients a month, because a lot of people are talking about volume. And yes, we need volume. We need to constantly be getting leads. But if you had 2 or 3 people that are super qualified coming to you saying, hey, can you help me with this? It's going to take you an hour of your time. So let's say 3 hours, most 5 hours a month for you to make $15,000 off 3 deals. That's impactful. That's powerful. So Jude is one of my favorite clients, and he will tell you, man, I bullshit too much because I don't do this full time and I should. He
Yeah.
says he makes between $8,000 and $12,000 a month doing this part time. I think it's probably super part time for this guy. You know what I'm saying? So because he already has clients coming in. So,
Yeah.
so that's the thing is if you're in the finance industry doing credit repair or taxes and things like this should be a seamless add-on. It's
Yeah.
one of those you ask a few extra questions to your clients that are already coming in and you also promote it so now you have funding clients coming in as a lead, but really you can get them for credit repair and taxes. And so the big adjustment I saw in 2024 was credit repair companies are like, damn, I want to get into high ticket sales.
Yeah.
This constantly busting my ass for clients is hard and I'm not hitting 10K, I'm not hitting 20K. This is
Yeah.
killing me. Or I have to have 30 clients to hit 3,000 a month or something like that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how do I get there? How do I break through? And so what I started to see, and I knew it right away, is you start seeing these credit repair businesses, we offer funding now, we offer funding. And the thing about it is a lot of them actually don't really offer funding. They might have some affiliates that they send out to, but
Mm.
really what they're doing is they're trying to get lower cost qualified credit repair clients.
Yeah.
So they're using funding a little bit as a screen, but also as an additional service. So
Mm-hmm.
what we're seeing there is a solid credit repair lead. If you're running ads, it really is going to depend. But any type of ad lead in finance is going to cost you between 40 and 120 bucks. The quality
Mm-hmm.
ones, the ones that actually qualify. Though that's where you're going. So if you're doing credit repair, $40 a lead's not going to work.
Yeah.
You need to have dollars and pennies on your leads. So when you're adding this and it's opening up so much more, that's what we saw in 2024 is credit repair companies and even tax businesses shifting to, hey, we offer funding, hey, we offer funding, but their funding isn't rock solid.
Right.
Their funding is affiliate based. They're not really sure what they're doing now. Obviously, that's not everybody. There's lots of
Yeah.
credit repair companies that have seamlessly added funding. They're doing great things. But that's why we saw so many switch over to that this year.
Yeah. And it takes forever for them to fund you, like for those companies too. If they take you on as credit repair, then it's going to take them a long time to fund you because they got to get all that stuff off your credit. Definitely seen the same thing in my role too, like just chasing the customers. Because of course I was in credit repair for a
Mhm.
little while, and there's a lot of people that just exit the business because it's so demanding,
Yeah.
and chasing the customers
I
and doing
honestly
all
think
that
it's one
stuff.
of the hardest business models. I would never own a credit repair company. Now,
Yeah,
here's the deal is like the thing about it is almost everyone needs credit repair
yeah,
of some
yeah,
kind. So it's weird that it's such a needed product.
yeah,
People have almost the majority of small business owners do not have good credit. The majority of individuals don't have good credit. You need good credit for cars,
yeah,
mortgages, even rent now. If you're trying to be a rental, there's people now with jobs, they want you to have good credit. So it continues to expand on where we
yeah.
need good credit. And so you would think, but this is what I always tell people, and I've if you watch any of my videos or my trainings, you're going to hear this. Like credit repair is so hard to sell because you are selling a commitment
Hmm.
to uncommitted people
Yeah,
or
yeah. You have to.
non-committed,
Yep.
right? These people do not honor commitments. It is
Yeah.
shown in their history that they have consistently not honored their commitment. And now you're saying, hey, just give me a little money every month. It'll take a long time. It will take several months. Last time I was in credit repair, it took 18 months, right? So here's the deal. I want you to pay me every month
Yeah.
for at least 2 years, and you're not always going to see results. And some of the good results may end up not being good. They may end up coming back or going whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm just going
Yeah.
to need you to stay committed and pay this bill and not make any other bad choices for the next 2 years, even though you've never done it in your life. And then I need you to pay your bill on time so I don't have to worry about chasing after you. Can do that. And they're like,
Uh,
no, no. That's the
but
thing.
they
You
don't
don't
say that. They don't say
no, they
that.
don't. But you don't get anything physical when you buy the iPhone. You get
Yep.
the iPhone. Then you're like, it
Yeah.
makes you happy. There's a chemical. You get
Yeah.
high off from it. Credit repair,
And
you don't.
these are traditionally people with that have problems with instant gratification. They need it right now, but that's why they keep going and getting all kinds of lending for the things that they want right now, and it
Yep,
not being a great decision.
yep.
And then credit repair is more so about mindset than it is about the actual
Right.
credit repair.
All
Because
that.
like you said, you have to be consistent. You have to pay these bills. You have to keep your balances low, which is self control. You have to
Not
pay on
apply for
time.
other things.
Yep. Not apply for other things, which is another form of self control.
Yep.
And then plan for your future, which is building your positive credit history. And again, it's all consistency
And it takes
and
time.
no instant gratification
Yeah,
with
all
this.
these people, oh, I can change your credit score in 14 days. We need to start a series of tell me you're
Yeah.
operating an illegal business without telling me you're
Yep.
operating illegal business. Oh, we can,
And we're going to do that.
yeah,
We're going to do that.
right? Oh, this sweep, it'll just take 3 days. I'll remove everything off your credit and everything will be fine. And then we'll just add a bunch of junk and then we're going to get
Yeah.
you funding. We can easily get you 250K. Like, what?
Make
Here's the
you
deal
a.
is if that, back in the day before social media, if
Yeah.
someone had walked up to you on the street and was like, hey, man,
Do all these things.
let me tell you, they open up the trench coat with the, hey, man,
Yeah.
listen, I
You'd
heard
be
you
like,
got bad credit.
Diablo, El Diablo.
Yeah, let me help you. Come over here to the alleyway. I want to show you
Yeah.
something in the basement. That's what some of these people are coming off as. And if we saw
Yeah.
that in real life before social media, probably would have beat the crap out of them on the street. Be like, dude, what are you talking about? And that's
Get out
why
of my
some of these
neighborhood.
things are so funny that I read because I'm like, how can anyone believe this? But that's the thing is, obviously, they're not targeting me and my brain and what I know
Yeah.
and how I process, right?
Yeah.
And they're getting plenty of other people to sign up because a lot of people will much rather pay. Here's the deal is there's a large group of people that would much rather pay $100 for something that is probably and absolutely impossible, but they've made such a huge promise. They're like, oh, I'm willing to do that. But if you were to give somebody realistic expectations for the same thing and be like, hey, it's a
Yeah.
$100, they'd be like, nah, I'm good. But if I'm like,
Yep.
yeah, we could get you $1 million guaranteed within 30 days, just pay me this $100, the majority of them will buy that.
Yeah.
Obviously, they'll still call it a scam. That's why you just accept it through Cash App or Zelle, right? You call it a day, then you don't deliver on it and you just move on.
Yeah.
And none of those people, if they call you a scammer, you can block them. But at the end of the day, they don't really care. They just move on to
Yeah.
the next.
It's a lower dollar amount. So they're
Yep.
like, it's going to cost me more to debunk this than it is for me to just take it on the chin.
Yeah, run it up.
So,
Let me make a few thousand, few 10,000 and call it a day. What are they going to
yeah.
do? Yeah,
Yep.
crazy.
What financial strategies have you implemented to ensure your growth and sustainability in the Lone Wolf?
There's a few different things. First of all, there was a long time I did everything on my own. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
the lone wolf, and you made a comment like she's not alone. She's had all these people, right? But what I have realized is even when you think you have found the right person to hire, they
Yeah.
may not be the right person to hire, right? I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars learning lessons.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the biggest things that I would say, and there's a few different things. Number one, you need systems and processes. You
Yeah.
need SOPs and you need consistency on that, right? You need to niche. Everyone talks about niching. You need to niche. You need to have a very clear offer that clients will understand, right? But when it comes to scaling or even recovering or consistently growing, there's a few different things. Number one, you need to understand the costs of running your business. You need to
Mm-hmm.
completely understand the cost of running that business. You need to understand that whatever, and I learned this from Grant, that the whole 10X concept, right? Whatever amount of effort or time you think you need 3 to 10 times more of it. So if you think you need 10K for a job, you probably need 30, right? If you think you need 2 weeks, you probably need 6,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the biggest thing is reinvesting. And that's not just money, though. You need to be reinvesting and making certain choices with your business. Now, when you're just starting off and the money you make is the money you live off from, it can be very challenging.
Yeah.
We've all been there, done that. But what you have to understand is there are certain things you need to do. So if you're running a business, even if it's a side hustle, even as a sole prop, like you don't have an LLC, you don't have a corporation, you can, as a sole prop, get your sole prop account. You can get a business account. If you're running a business, you should be putting your money in your business account. When
Mm-hmm.
you get to a certain, and I would ask your accountant, because I'm not an accountant, this is not legal advice, right? I feel it, got to say that, right? But you need to realize that if this is your primary, like you quit your job to run your business, you need to run payroll. You absolutely need to run payroll. Do not transfer money to you from one account to another. Have your business account, have your personal account, run payroll. Because what you are doing now is you are showing to lenders, to the banks, to the IRS that I have business revenue and I have personal income.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're showing business revenue in the business account, you're running payroll. That payroll is proving your income. One of the biggest mistakes people get from going from an employee to the employer is that they're doing transfers.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they're paying themselves. Do not do that. Do payroll. As soon as you can, do that. If you're just like, I'm not at that point, or it's too much money, or this and that, cool, I get it. But if you ever want to grow this business, if you're trying to buy a house, if you
Mm-hmm.
want to get a loan, if you want to leverage funding, you need a business account and you need to be payrolling yourself. Do not do
Yeah.
the transfers. Next, the other big thing that I'll say is how you take money matters. If you're taking money through Zelle, Venmo, Cash, all that shit needs to stop.
Yeah.
Period. That does not count as revenue. Now, I have mortgage officers, our Zelle count, Zelle for mortgages. That counts, but it's still a lot of extra paperwork from my understanding, or can be, right? So you have to understand the way you are paid matters. You need to look professional. Now, I know some people are trying to avoid fees, etc. Fees are a part of the game. I know
Yeah.
people that refuse to get a business bank account because it's going to cost them 15 bucks a month. Bruh, I'm sorry, not sorry, you shouldn't be in business. If
Mm-hmm.
you that caught up on a $15 a month maintenance fee for your account, first of all, you avoid that when you have enough cash in there. So you'll
Yeah.
grow to it. But if that's the thing, like, oh, I don't know about that, then maybe you running a business, a side hustle is cool, but you running a business, you're not a businessman. You're not an
Yeah.
entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So
Your mindset isn't right for
yeah.
that.
So credit is huge and your personal credit super matters. Super matters. The better credit, the more
Yeah.
opportunity you can tap into. But if you're not handling your finances in a particular way, the other thing too is I'm seeing a lot of business owners, They want to reduce their tax liability, so they do a bunch of write-offs. I understand where they're coming from. Obviously, we hate paying taxes.
Yeah.
But when you diminish your
Yeah.
revenue or your
Yeah.
personal income down to nothing, if you're putting that over 12 months, your adjusted gross income, so that's your income after deductions. If your adjusted
Mhm.
gross income, let's say it's 24K to make my brain easy, that means you made and lived off from $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
That's not taking into consider any bills. You think your DTI is under 36% for that mortgage or that loan? Absolutely not. I have a guy right now, he has 3 cars, a mortgage, mounting credit card debt. He runs a business, and he made his adjusted gross income look like $48,000.
My gosh.
And his bills are over 5 grand a month.
Mhm.
So he's completely made his financials look insane.
Yeah.
Nobody's going
And
to
it
touch him.
depends.
Yeah, he's
It
not lending.
depends on what your goal is too. It's
Right.
okay if you ever want to grow your business, if you ever want to get funding, lending, whatever it is, then you cannot go into that saying I'm going to reduce my tax liability to zero.
Right.
Like,
It won't
and
make sense.
unless you have a W-2 as well. It's different if
Yeah.
you got a W-2 and you're getting paid like that. But going back to the not tax advice, what I've heard
Yeah.
is that when you break the 40K mark for your revenue in your business is when you need to switch it to a S corp or a C corp.
Yeah. So I would always talk to
Yeah.
your accountant or someone about that. But yeah, there's supposed to be,
Yeah.
you're supposed to get better tax benefits when you take that election of an S corp, and that's always something
But if
that
you're
needs
running
to be
payroll too,
discussed because
you get taxed twice.
so yeah, you need to know the positives and negatives that way, and you really need to talk to a professional. I know a whole
Absolutely.
lot, but I feel way more comfortable with someone talking
Yep.
to the CPA or the accountant and let them know, like, these are my
Talk to
goals.
your tax professionals
Yeah,
for
you need to
this.
talk,
Not
and you need to let them know, like, these
don't
are
take
my
our
goals.
advice.
Yeah, these are the goals. This is what I'm looking to do. Because here's the thing, too, is if you show a loss on your tax return for 3 years in a row,
Mhm.
business or personal, you're absolutely getting audited. You're absolutely. And I'm so sick of seeing and talking to these people that are like, yeah, I run $1 million business. And I look and it's, yeah, 1.2 million. And then I look at what their total income is, and it's like 58,000. And I'm like, and so all
Your
these things
expenses are
matter.
950,000.
Yeah, yeah. All these things matter. And when you reduce and when you're trying to hide money and you're trying to do all these things,
Yeah.
like, I get the concept of why people do what they do all day long. I get it. I get it. I understand it. But that beautiful but, if you want to do XYZ, you got to stop that shit.
Yeah.
And here's the deal is when I became a business owner, I didn't go to business school. I never went to
Mhm.
college. So anything I found out or gained was because I fucked it up and did it wrong in the first place. Someone told me to do it that way and it was right. Someone told me
Mhm.
to do it that way and it was wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I've learned so much more from the
From
wrong
experience.
ways
Yeah.
than I have from the right ways. And one of the reasons why I have gotten so far in lending was when I started, I was submitting so many different applications because when I started off, I didn't niche at all. Now,
Mhm.
I had my e-commerce background, so I focused on that and got others from other places. But I had to take what I got at first, and a lot of us do. And what
Yeah.
happened was is I got so many different types of files. I got to see what happens when somebody has a bankruptcy. I got to see what happens with a tax lien or a default or a this or a that. So I got so
Yeah.
much extra data points from all the different people I was speaking to. Fast forward, I'm able to educate people at a high level on
Mhm.
multiple products instead of one. Because what you'll see is the majority of all these funding experts and all of these funding companies, they're credit card stacking companies. All
Yeah.
they do is credit card stacking. And it's a part of what I do. I had a company hire me recently to run their entire funding program. And what they do is they focus on credit card stacking. Credit card stacking is one of the hardest programs to qualify for. The
Mhm.
data points and the underwriting requirements are very stiff. They're so stiff. And the process takes weeks. It's not fast at all.
Yeah.
So it's like all these lenders or all these agencies that are experts, they do credit card stacking. They do one thing. And I'm coming in and I don't even like credit card stacking. I haven't promoted it for years. Yes, we've done it. And I think it's really great for certain situations. Fantastic for certain situations. But what you're seeing is all these funding experts and all these people offering funding, but it's only credit card stacking. It's only credit card stacking. And so there's a lot of confusion now for new people. They're like, oh, if I can get 0%, why would I want anything else? And then that's the baseline. If I don't get 0%, I don't want it. And it's like zero. First of all, it's a introductory 0% offer. Like with somebody like a Bank of America, some of them only have 6 or 9 cycles of 0%. Others are between 12 and 18 months. The other thing is you have to liquidate these credit cards. And if you don't do it correctly, you're going to get your account shut down. So it's super high risk, takes forever, super hard to qualify on it. And yet that's really the only thing everyone's getting fed, minus the occasional merchant cash advance advertisement, which is on the other extreme end of cost. So you have the lowest and the highest, and those are really the only two being talked about. Obviously, people know about lines of credit or term loans, but for the most part, you have two insanely opposite, super hard to qualify for, super easy to qualify for, 0%, insane rates. But short terms, they're both short terms, but this is cash and this you need to liquidate. And there's a process and there's a huge risk to it. So it's interesting as a consumer not knowing shit. These are the two things you're being fed and you're like, I'm so confused. So there needs to be someone in the gap. So somebody like me who has high level education in multiple funding products, which is rare. There's only so many of us out there. Again, everyone's being fed these two things and it can get really confusing. And it's, if you don't qualify for the 0%, you think you qualify for nothing. And there is a lack of consistent education, I think, in the middle there. And that's where me and my students, we do our best to try to get more of that information out there. But again, like me and my students, we don't do the flashy, we don't do huge ad spends. Like I've never run an ad. Now the companies that are hiring me to run their funding departments, they're running ads. Which I love. And we have to have conversations consistently about the type of ads and the type of things they're advertising and the type of things they're saying. And that way we can responsibly and ethically lend to these people.
Yeah. I mean, that
we can do so many podcasts.
A whole litany of things can go from
Episode 1 with Ashley.
And of course, like we talked about before, because I talked about this with Kyra and I talked about this with Raquel, we're gonna start a series of ethical type of credit, so we can talk about these things that people hear as buzzwords, but they don't really dig into and tell you the whole story. So we're gonna start something that's called I think we said it was something like a credit collective, to where we can talk about this stuff in podcast form, but just periodically we want to get this information out there, just like you and your students are trying to do.
It's scary. Like I am blown away. Like the fact that so many of these people are promoting money laundering techniques. And without any regard. And we saw that impact with the Chase glitch. That's not a glitch, y'all. There are certain banks that will release a certain amount of money when you put a check in. That's not a glitch. They just happen to be giving a lot more of an advance, which of course they have changed that now. But people were literally calling check fraud a glitch. And then thousands upon thousands of people did it without any type of regard, any type of research, anything. And the crazy part is I'm 40. I know about old-timey in the 90s check fraud. A lot of us saw Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio, and he's changing. So us old heads,
federal crime.
Us old heads, which is I get to be categorized with the old heads now. My white show a little. But us old heads are like, yeah, that's check fraud. We know about that. Like, I know a whole bunch of people that were running shit like that back in the day. But you have this younger generation that barely knows what a check is. A lot of these people probably didn't have checks.
Don't even know how to write a check. Don't know cursive.
Yeah, they don't. My partner's 16-year-old, last night we were talking about checks, and she's, I don't have a check. How do I get a check? What's a money order? She didn't know these things, but they don't know. Checks aren't even that common anymore anyways. Like, we don't need them. And so we saw that somebody just made a video on TikTok and said, hey, go ahead and do this. And then blindly, thousands of people committed a felony
Yeah.
like a serious felony. And we're going to see like the impact there, all the fraud with the PPP and the EIDL
Yeah.
and all these other things. We're going to see it. We're still seeing it. We're going to continue to see it. So it's who you listen to really does matter. And the thing about it is people think they're untouchable because you're
Mm-hmm.
small, but you committed check fraud. I don't
Yeah.
care how small you are.
Yeah.
Every single person that committed check fraud is going to get got. Period.
Regardless of whether you know what you did or not, you're held accountable for it. Like
Yeah. The few people that are
you
like,
not
it's Chase's fault. What?
no,
What? No. Yeah. That's
you
what
not
scares me though. I'm like, y'all are crazy.
ignorance is not a prerequisite for you not to go to jail. No.
You did this on a video. Like, there's a video when you go to the ATM, you put in your card, you filled out your check with the money. You wrote a bad check to yourself. You deposit. Oh my gosh, y'all.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's scary.
But again, we could go all night with that. But
We
what
really
are your
could.
future goals for Lone Wolf, and how do you plan to continue supporting startups and small businesses and
Yeah.
evolving financial landscape?
No, for sure. I love this question. I am taking a pivot. Like here, it's early December, so I'm not sure when this gets posted. I'm closing my courses to new clients. I may come out with a new course in 2025. I'm still debating on that. But for the most part, what I'm doing now is I'm getting hired by other funding companies that need a better process, better lenders to make things more seamless, to create a better offer. And I've now partnered with 4 different companies and I'm doing that. And I really love that. It gets me to focus on the thing that I love doing, which is getting
Yeah.
people the results. So I don't have to worry about lead gen and I don't have to worry about sales calls
Mm-hmm.
and all that other thing. So I think that's one of the things that I love the most is it takes away from all the other things I have to do as admin or generating leads, right? I can just focus on that. But so that's been great and I'm working there. Our white label program as it is now, I'm actually closing those doors as well. And this is the first time I've talked about it. We're probably going to launch something really special at some point next year with this other person I'm doing. So when it comes to the Lone Wolf and how we're helping startups and small businesses, I am now going to start focusing on doing a lot more podcasts, doing a lot more speaking events, running some of my own events, just making a lot more content that's going to be informative without having to worry about if they're generating any leads, right? I'm just going to start busting out
Right.
crazy content in hopes to get the correct information out to the right people. So what you're going to
Mm-hmm.
see from me, especially in 2025, is a ton more video content. I'm really focused on the 4 companies that have hired me, and I'm really excited to represent them and not be the lone wolf in a little bit of a way, just
Yeah.
be the person that's taking care of things behind the scenes like the Wizard of Oz, but I'm legit and real. You know what I'm saying? But honestly, I've been telling myself for 2 years I was going to write my personal book, a book about my personal journey, and I said I was going to do it this year, and then this year just happened. And definitely for me, I'm going to accomplish a lot more personal goals that I've been putting off to the side because I have been so focused on my students and my clients. And that was the big shift this year is I focus on my students and my clients. I wanted them to find the best success and to get them on the right track and to not focus as much on what I had been building for years. And I'm really proud of that. It was definitely been a very strange year, a lot of so many lessons again, so many beautiful lessons. But I'm definitely excited to continue to be hired. I usually do 6 months with each company, so I'll do 6 months and see where that goes. And it's been challenging, which I love because honestly, I haven't felt challenged in a minute. I'm going to be real honest. I hadn't felt challenged in a minute. And
Mm-hmm.
so this is kind of, it's one of those things where it reignites that spark a little bit because now
Yeah.
I'm having to put forth more effort because once you become an expert, the reason you become an expert is to create effortless
Yeah.
things. And then though you get to the point where you realize that flame isn't burning as hot and as you're not as much of a dog as you used to be because you don't got to
Mm-hmm.
fight it so hard. And I love that. It means I've accomplished something. It means that I've achieved something. But there also can be you wake up one day and be like, wait a second, I haven't been challenged in a minute.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
going through the steps. And that's what I've noticed. And so I've gotten that spark a little bit again in coming in and cleaning up other people's messes and having ugly conversations. I've had a few customers just be real mean on the phone with me because I told them something different, but I like that. I
Yeah.
like that. You know what I'm saying? Like there's something about it in me. It's I'm being challenged. So am I gonna stick to Ashley or am I gonna go outside my character? Or am I gonna
Hmm.
do this or that? And so it's been nice to be challenged in that for my soul and my integrity and different things to be challenged. And it's reminded me of who I am. You know what I mean? I think I
Right.
brought that up earlier, like what you do out of desperation and what you do with the most
Hmm.
success, that should be the
That should be
same,
the
in
same
my
thing.
opinion.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want anyone to feel judged like I'm looking at you like, "Man, you suck because you
Yeah.
doing." We've all been there and
Yeah.
done some crazy stuff maybe in our lives when shit was
Just
tough. But
opportunities for
but
growth.
yeah, when you backed up in that corner, I wanna be the same person in the corner as I am on the platform with first place type deal. And that makes me feel a lot better. And so it's been nice to get these challenges and to see myself honor myself because that's really
Yeah.
what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good stuff. Where can people find you? What are your handles?
Facebook is the biggest. Just you can look up my name, Ashley Gunther. I look like this
Okay.
minus the hat, but
I'll put it up.
yeah, I think the handle is Further Beyond because that was my
Okay.
original business name. But I prefer Facebook. That's where I have the most traction. I
Okay.
left Instagram many years ago after my big account got taken down. That hurt badly. And
Mm-hmm.
on TikTok, I do more like dad jokes and just showing more humor. But I am going to build my I Am the Lone Wolf TikTok here in 2025. But
Okay.
mainly Facebook. You'll drop the URL, send me a friend request, hit the follow button. You can DM me. I answer my DMs. I can't believe some of these people are like, I don't answer DMs. I'm like, "Look, that's dope. You can create your own boundaries, but that's wild to me." You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be inundated with emails from
Yeah.
people I don't know. I'd much rather you hit me up on Facebook
Yeah.
Messenger. But yeah,
Yep.
that's where you can
Then you
find
can
me.
control it. Yep.
And honestly, Facebook, I think that Facebook page is pretty old. So you can, if you're wondering, do I believe her? Do I like her? Do I trust her? You can go on my page and you can get to know me inside and out. You'll get to know
Mm-hmm.
personal Ashley. You'll hear about my struggles. You'll hear me talk about suicide attempts. You'll hear me talk about depression. I escaped a domestic violence situation. Like, you're going to learn
Wow.
about me. And it's so much more than business. So you're going to learn about
Mm-hmm.
my personal life. And I remember I've had a few personal partners not like that I'm so open, and
Yeah.
that's why they're exes. But I've been told by some people, a very small amount, that I shouldn't talk about certain things like
Mm.
mental illness and struggle and things. And I remember even being told once that if you keep talking about this, people are not going to trust to work with you because I have bipolar disorder. So I'm bipolar,
Mm-hmm.
I'm medicated. Found out I was bipolar during COVID. So I spent 36 years of my life not medicated properly.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
And I started talking about it because it was a huge thing, and I felt a lot of shame at first. I had to go through
Mm-hmm.
my own process and
Yeah.
having to realize this is something I need to disclose when I date people. This
Mm-hmm.
might be something I needed to disclose when partnering with people. And
Yeah. Business partners.
it,
Yeah.
it was the battle of this isn't a part of my identity, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started talking about it, and I had a few people say, "Man, Ashley, this is going to kill your career." And those two, three people, they don't matter because I'm getting tens and hundreds of messages and DMs saying, "Thank you.
Yeah.
I have this and I am not strong enough," or "I can't believe that you talk about this
Yep.
publicly. And because you do so, X, Y, and Z." So it goes back to the funding part when you're like, what feels good about it's not about funding. None of this is about
Mm-hmm.
funding. It's about building relationships with real humans and
Yeah.
being there for them. That's really
Yeah.
what it is. And the funding is just that's a bonus. But yeah, you'll get to learn me really well on the Facebook. I think it's a very honest and transparent reflection of just simply who I am.
And on social media, more people are connecting with relatability and connection on social media than they are with the stuff that we, like you and I, we don't do that flashy stuff.
Flashy flash. I
And
don't
and of
own a
course
Rolex,
there's
man. I want to
they
maybe at some point. That used to be a big
I
goal of
might
mine. I used to have a number. Once I hit that number, I'm gonna get me a Rolly. And now I'm like, do I?
I'll get a digital face that's a Rolex. No more than that. I'm a super nerd when it comes to when it comes to stuff like I don't need no Rolex, and I don't even want a flashy car because I don't want to be a target. I would rather have a land that's like acres and acres where I can just go outside and shoot to my heart's content
Yeah.
versus a lamb. I don't need that.
No, totally agree, man. And I think that comes with age too.
I don't like people, so I'm an introvert. But I know there's a lot more people out there that need the message. Than that's a bigger need than my want to stop. So
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna
absolutely.
keep sounding the alarm and telling people about credit and educating them and all of this stuff that we never learned when we came
Oh
up.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
thank you,
Hmm.
Ashley, for accepting this invitation and talking to us.
Absolutely. Yeah, this has been great. Definitely have me back again, especially on the other one, because I mean, I love breaking things down, and that's the thing is like to close this out. My final thought is it's really hard when you start seeing all this content to figure out which one is real and which one's not, right? And
Yeah,
you can do your due diligence all day, but some of these people, and here's the thing is a lot of them are telling you the wrong things over and over again. So when you have 10 or
yeah,
20 people telling you something, but it's wrong, it doesn't seem wrong because there's so many people
yeah.
saying it.
Start to believe it.
And you really do it, and they'll flash some things and they'll show some proof, and it makes you think of whatever, and then you'll jump into it and you realize it's all bullshit. And so the thing is, I
Hmm.
always tell people if there's a statement, Google it. And if it's not easily answered on Google, there should be a question there. The other thing that I tell people all the time too is, right? Make a phone call. If somebody is
Yeah,
saying QuickBooks is doing this and that, if someone's saying, hey, Verizon is doing this and that, call them up. Get
yeah.
on with a business rep and go, hey,
Call
this is,
Chase and say, "Can I
yes.
do check fraud?"
Literally so many people because we're from a generation that doesn't call. Like we used to have to
Yeah,
call to order a pizza, there was no app, and so we
yeah,
there's a whole generation that doesn't think I'll just call them. And so that's the thing is if you see anybody making these statements, even me, Google it.
yeah,
If you Google whatever they're saying and it's not popping up, that should tell you that you need to look deeper, right? And if they're
yeah,
talking about a specific company or entity or something, look them up, schedule a friggin' call, or call them and ask the question.
yeah,
It's really that simple. And you'll get the answer. And if the person goes, I have no idea what you're talking about, that's your answer. That tells you that it's full of shit. So that's the way that you can tell. I get that everything starts to look the same. People start to sound the same. You have a bunch of people saying the same thing. You're like, it must be true. Just call.
yeah,
With the Verizon issue, I was like, that doesn't sound right. All I did was I went on Verizon, I clicked on business. It asked me to book a call or something like that, and I booked the call. Got on a call with the dude and said, hey, man, I apologize because you're not going to make a sale on this, but I would love to utilize you as someone I can recommend. I just have a few questions that I'm seeing online.
mm,
He was like, okay, what's up? And I was like, can you send this to me in writing? Can you send me anything? Blah, blah, blah. And that's how it was. And he was cool to answer. Now I'm going to let them know ahead of time, like, hey, I know this is supposed to be a sales call. I'm not trying to take your time. I appreciate it. This is what I'm
yeah,
looking at. Do that. Get that answer from the source. Don't get it from some. Anytime somebody talks about the IRS and they send me a link to a blog, just go to the IRS website. If the IRS website does not say this, I am not going to believe you. I don't care if it's on TurboTax's blog.
yeah, yeah,
I don't care. It's not the
yeah.
IRS. So that's the way I look at it. Go to the source, look it up, ask a question, make a phone call. That's simple.
That is a mic drop right there.
Right there for you.
So again, thank you, Ashley. This has been another Credit Chats, and thank you guys for tuning in. And we will see you next time. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Were you about to leave without hitting that like and subscribe button? I mean, you'll be back, right? So why not save yourself the hassle and just do it now? It's like putting your keys by the door, or packing your lunch, or packing 3 days before your flight and not the night of. It just makes life easier. Oh wait, did, did you just do it? I knew you had it in you. I appreciate that. See you next time. Same place, same channel. And remember, everything you need is inside of you.